Hello everyone, welcome back. This is Caffeine Encrypted, and we're back with another tutorial. This time we're looking at how containers work in workers and resources, Soviet Republic. First of all, considering you are playing the game in realistic mode with resources available, to gain access to containers, you need to start by researching logistic optimization and then container standards. There are three types of containers: 10 inches, 20 inches, and 40 inches. For the purpose of this tutorial, we will call them small, medium, and large. Their capacity is not directly related to their size. So, for example, a 10 inches container can hold 4 tons of clothes, but a 20 inches container can hold 9.8, which is more than double plus extra. A container of 40 inches doesn't hold double than the 20. If anything, it holds 50% less than you would expect. We can store 11 out of 12 resources that cover holes can load normally. The only one we cannot is livestock. We have three methods of transportations for containers: trucks, which can accommodate small and medium containers, as we can see here; trains that can accommodate any size container and combinations of them based on the available space on the container wagon; and of course ships, which can accommodate all sizes and a great amount of them. Now you may ask, what are some of the reasons I need to use containers? Well, they load and unload significantly faster than other vehicles, and their exports on the custom houses are significantly faster. They have less impact on inflation, especially when utilized with ships. They are a good alternative to store resources for satellite cities. They allow you to transfer higher volume of resources versus covered hulls, and that results in less traffic generated as less trucks and trains are needed to move things between bigger distances. Now let's talk about selecting the right vehicle for your purpose. Trucks can only load a single layer of containers. The same is true for trains that utilize basic wagons. Trains with specialized container wagons can stack up to 2 layers of containers. Ships can stack up to 5, and bonus, all storage areas can store up to 4 layers high. Let's talk a little bit about how to know what containers you can load on your vehicles. Here you see we have a number of different long-haul trucks. And you see that the available space for this truck, for example, is this little part, while this one has a much bigger flatbed. Considering that a small container is 3 meters, a medium container is 5 meters long, and a large container is 10 meters long, you can go on the terrain tools, you can select the tool for measurement, and you can measure how long the actual flatbed is. So this flatbed over here is about 13 meters. That's why it can stack 2 medium containers of 5 meters, so that's 10 meters, and you see you have about a couple meters back and front combined as extra space. Another example of this is this open hull. So if we use the same thing again, we get a tool measurement, and we say how much is it from here to here. It's a little under 11 actually, it's about 10. So we can fit 5, and this doesn't have exactly enough to hold another 5 meter one. So, but we could put another 3 meter one that's why it has all this open space. And of course the same is true with train wagons. As you see here, we have a 40-inch and a 10-inch, so a large and a small, while here we just have a large and a lot of empty space. Let's look at the buildings that are related to containers and talk a bit about how they work. We have a container loading facility, the one on the left, and a container unloading facility, the one to the right. They're identical. One loads containers, one unloads containers and takes the resources out of them. So here I have a little setup. I have a centralized warehouse with a bunch of different resources. So I have chemicals, alcohol, food, and clothes. So all of them push things around to 3 different loading facilities, and we will talk about why that is in a moment. This loading facility, if I sell their containers, you will see here that I have 100% storage to be utilized for food. So they will only take food away from the warehouse. If I enable something else like clothes, and I give it like 5%, if I don't have enough food, they will try to pull some of those clothes if they can get enough to make a container. but they will always focus on one resource, as long as there is a steady supply of resources for it, and the building that they pull from has enough. They will never pull a resource for something that they have 0% available storage on the loading facility. And to demonstrate that, I have set this container loading facility to only pack explosives. There is a bunch of other resources here that they could pull and turn into a container. They will never transfer it. The moment I give them a little bit of room, let's say I move this to 5%, they will start pulling that to make a container, as long as there is enough to fill a container. Following the same principle, loaders work in the same way. If they have one resource specified, they will always try to pull containers from a container storage like this one to accommodate that and pile up the necessary amount of resources. If you have multiple, they will never move to the next one until they completely exhausted all the containers for the first product that they work on. So if this one works for clothes and I say I want you to unload clothes and alcohol, they will need to go through all of those containers for clothes and then they will start working with alcohol. That's why one of the best practices I found is a 3-to-1 connection. Now, when you want to plan a route for containers and their distribution, you need to remember, no distribution offices currently in the game support containers. So either trucks, trains, or anything else will not automatically load containers. If you want to use containers for exports, focus on trains and ships. Trucks are useful only early game, and for local use, you want to focus on point-to-point distribution. Let's look at an actual example. So, we have a loading facility here, packing food into containers. We have another one over here packing clothes, and another one packing chemicals. All of them are stored into container storage, all 3 types. This one doesn't show any clothes because they haven't built up enough over here, but the train did pull them because trains can pull from up to 2 layers, so from here and from the actual loading facility directly. You will also see I use a little train over here with only 2 wagons because I don't want to move too many. 30 tons of clothes or 40 is plenty for the purpose of this example, and they are delivered to a satellite city. For this example, I have told this unloading facility to only unpack alcohol and this one to only unpack clothes. So a train with alcohol or clothes will go over here and unload it. And this one stores food and chemical, so they will go unload it on this container storage. The unloading facility will unpack the food and this will unpack the chemicals. You have a bunch of junctions over here and forklifts. So what will happen is the forklift will go to each one of those unloading stations, pick up the resources, and keep this warehouse topped up. And from here we can either go to a road cargo station and redistribute things within our satellite city with trucks if we want, or we can just have a connection to our shopping center or anything else that utilizes those resources directly. Some extra things to remember when using containers. You cannot have trucks, trains, or ship automatically buy containers. You can load containers you bought manually on the custom house with a truck and train as long as the destination can accept containers. If you try to send them, for example, to a depot, they will not pick them up. Trains picking up containers will always prioritize one resource type if multiple are available. And generally, it's much better to have a smaller 1 or 2 wagon train bringing in a single type of resources for local use and unload them in a container storage. While larger multi-wagon trains are better to load ships or doing bulk exports in the border. And the bonus tip, you can actually filter what resources or containers your trains or trucks will pick up. How do you do that? So here, for example, we're going to a destination and we're going to harbor space for vehicles containers to load some containers. We don't have any active filters. So if we press over here on the open type selection, it will give us an actual active filter for containers or vehicles. We're going to go on show all containers and say, I only want you to load dry containers that are 40 inches. And if I want to actually filter the resources, I will go again, so all resources, and select the resource I want to filter. Let's say I only want to load clothes. So you will see here, they will only load dry containers of 40 inches that are clothes. And this concludes the container tutorial for workers and resources. Hopefully the game will receive some more updates before releasing into its version 1, especially around containers, hopefully allowing them to be utilized with the distribution office for higher efficiency. Let me know your thoughts down on the comments below. Let me know if you enjoyed the tutorial, and if you have any tips and tricks for me, let me know.